Welcome to the Starcraft II Heart of the Swarm campaign and lore panel. Please give a warm welcome to our panelists.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the StarCraft II panel. Lots to discuss today. Really glad to see y'all out here. My name's Chris Metzen. I'm the company cheerleader. This is Brian Kindergan. He's the lead writer on StarCraft II. It's Matt Morris. He's the lead level designer on StarCraft II. So as we get underway here, Brian and Matt are going to give some presentations on kind of story and level design. I'm just going to shut up for a while and then maybe hit y'all on the flip side with some QA time. So, Brian?
All right. Hey, everyone. I'm going to talk a little bit about the story of StarCraft II, Heart of the Swarm. But I don't want to spoil any of the great stuff that we've got planned for release. So I'm just going to touch on a couple topics and hopefully get the ball rolling for the Q&A later. If you have any questions about Wings of Liberty, feel free to ask those as well. So I wanted to start by talking about some of the characters that you're going to meet in Heart of the Swarm. And first up is Sarah Kerrigan. Now, the last time you saw Kerrigan, she had just been turned back into a human by Jim Raynor and the Xel'Naga artifact. But she's still got those Zergy dreadlocks, so that's a sign that her connection to the Swarm has not been completely severed. So it may not be the picture-perfect ending that Jim Raynor was hoping for when he carried her off into the sunset there. Kerrigan remembers very little about the things that she said and did as the Queen of Blades. It's kind of a big blur for her, but she does remember a few distinct things, and those are universally awful, awful things. So that's something that weighs very heavily on this character. But ultimately, she's going to have to explore her connection to the Swarm and even try to regain control of it. Next up is Zeratul. Zeratul's kind of gone rogue in the last few years. He's discovered a cause that he thinks is more important than all of the fighting and endless strife of the Kaprulu sector, and he's been working in the shadows to try to advance that cause. And so he'll show up in this game and continue to do that. And we have a new character named Isha. She's a unique Zerg, one of a kind, and she was created several years before the events of this story by the Queen of Blades. The Queen of Blades infested a Terran and altered her mind so that she could store thoughts and plans and ideas in her head. So now Kerrigan controls Isha, and Isha is able to help her by giving her advice or warning her of dangers, and even sort of keeping track of some low-level stuff while Kerrigan focuses on the big picture of regaining control of the Swarm. Next up is Abathur. Abathur was created by the Overmind, and he served the Queen of Blades, and now he serves Kerrigan. And his function is to evolve and improve the Swarm. And he is a master at this. He can spin genetic strands and sequences and create new creatures and upgrade them. But he's not some scientist in a lab. He's a Zerg. So the way he does this is he eats creatures or eats parts of them and breaks them down to their component parts inside his body, and then he's able to manipulate them and create prototypes. Finally, we have Zagara. Zagara is a brood mother. She is tough and merciless. She is actually the leader of the Zerg brood on Char. And so when Kerrigan shows up saying, hey, I'm the old Queen of Blades and I want to take back control of the Swarm and I want your brood, Zagara is not having any of it. She does not believe that this little slip of a human woman is, in fact, the Queen of Blades. So it's going to come down to a fight between these two. So I mentioned that she's a brood mother. That's a new kind of creature that we're showing in Heart of the Swarm. They were created by the Queen of Blades shortly before the end of Wings of Liberty. And they are sentient, independent creatures who are capable of controlling an entire brood. And unlike, say, a brood queen, they have independence, they have initiative, they have ambition. So when the Queen of Blades disappeared, these first few brood mothers that she had just created all sort of wanted to be the next leader of the Swarm. So each kind of took their brood and went off to different areas or fought and killed each other. So in the course of Heart of the Swarm, we've got many stories kind of woven together. Obviously, we've got the main story of Kerrigan's attempt to retake control of the Swarm. But we've also got individual character stories that happen in story mode. So, for example, you just met Abathur. If you go and talk to Abathur in story mode and you keep clicking on him all the time, eventually you'll start to see that there's more going on with this character than you might have at first thought. And a plot with him starts to develop, and eventually it will have its own climax. We also have ambient stories that are just kind of floating in the background that you can pay attention to or not as you choose. They're sort of side things. And an example of that is Nafash, another broodmother. When you play the BlizzCon demo, you'll hear about Nafash and her plans and the things she's trying to accomplish and why she went off to the frozen moon of Calder. And if you're paying close attention on one of those missions, you're actually going to find out how Nafash's story ends. So in closing, I just wanted to talk a little bit about some of the themes that we're playing with in this story. This is Sarah Kerrigan's story, and this woman has done some terrible, terrible things in her life, and she's had some awful things done to her. So she is a conflicted, angry anti-hero who's being pulled in multiple directions at once. And ultimately, she's going to have to make peace with her relationship with the Zerg Swarm. But this is also the story of a great war. The Kaprulu sector, and of course Starcraft, always has war and bloodshed and ceaseless carnage. And that continues in this game. And we've got all the races there. We've got the Protoss and the Terran, and of course the Zerg. But finally, most importantly, this is the story of the Zerg Swarm. We've never had a chance to look this closely into the Swarm and see how it operates and what it's like to be a part of the Swarm. So this is really our chance to look into the heart of the Swarm. And with that, I will hand it over to Matt Morris.
Hello, everyone. My name is Matt Morris. I am the lead level designer on StarCraft 2, and today I'm going to talk about the Heart of the Swarm campaign and missions. Now, hopefully you all played the Wings of Liberty campaign. From a design approach, that game was about one man and a group of rebels trying to earn cash so that they could start a revolution. And when we started designing the missions, we designed those missions to be very strategic. We wanted to give you a sense that Raynor was way over his head, but still has a chance to, or basically pulls off a miracle. Kind of like when he liberated the Odin or snatched the artifact from the Protoss while the whole planet was being engulfed in flames. And so when we started talking about the Heart of the Swarm and the Zerg campaign, we knew that this game was much different. This game is about Kerrigan and the Zerg. And if you remember in Wings, when the Zerg showed up on a planet, it was terrifying. It was incredibly scary. And usually what happened is you tried to get off that planet because you knew what was going to happen if you stayed there. And so when we started designing the missions, we wanted to capture that feeling. We wanted you to invade worlds. We wanted you to prevent people from escaping. And we wanted you to kill everyone on the planet because that's exactly what the Zerg do. Which brings me to one of the missions here that you could play at BlizzCon, War for the Brood. This is the type of mission you can expect from the campaign. This is about Kerrigan getting back the brood on Char. And she will race against Zagara, the brood mother that Brian had talked about, to collect unhatched eggs. And once Kerrigan has collected enough of these unhatched eggs, she will hatch a massive Baneling army that she will then use to crush Zagara, thus gaining back the brood. Now, another mission we have here at BlizzCon, Silence Their Cries. This is another type of mission you can expect from the Zerg campaign. Kerrigan's going to come looking for one of her lost broods, and when she comes to this planet, she quickly learns about a flash freeze. And when this flash freeze hits, it immobilizes everything on the planet, except the indigenous creatures. So the Zerg begin killing these indigenous creatures, consuming their essence. And when they've gained enough of this essence, they will adapt, and they will evolve to overcome this flash freeze. So the next time it hits, they are no longer affected, which is really a core aspect about the Zerg, their ability to adapt and evolve to overcome all challenges. Now, we talked about already how you will evolve your units in this game. We have told you that when you complete missions, that you'll collect mutagen points, and that you will use those mutagen points here in the evolution pit to spend on mutations. Now, we got a lot of feedback on that, and we've done a lot of play testing ourselves. and we agree that this system feels too similar to the armory in Wings of Liberty. It's not Zergy. The Zerg aren't here to collect points and spend points. They're here to evolve. And so what we're doing now is we're actually unlocking the mutations as you play the game. So each unit that you come across in the evolution pit has 3 mutations. So there will be 3 unlocks for each unit in this game. And each mutation that you choose will impact the power of that unit, so that the next time you play with that unit in the next mission, you'll see that power. And this was starting to feel really good for us, except for we realized that once you got to the 3rd unlock, it kind of wasn't as epic as it could be. We were looking for something really cool. You're evolving the Zerg towards something. And so we came up with genetic splits. A genetic split is a choice to genetically change your unit into an entirely new Zerg unit. And so what you see before you is the Zergling split. You could choose to split your Zergling on the 3rd unlock into a Raptor or a Swarmling. If you choose a Raptor, your Zergling will grow these little wings, which allows them to jump up and down cliffs. It'll allow them to leap into combat, closing the distance on the enemy. And let me show you what that looks like in the game. And so these are normal Zerglings right now getting owned by bunkers and tanks. But you chose Raptors, so you can now come at the Terran defense from a new direction. And so you can see these Raptors just tearing apart this Terran defense. They'll leap on those trees.
Oh, shit.
And quickly just end this Terran base. They have no chance. Now, if you were to choose the Swarmling split, instead of your Zerglings morphing in 15 seconds, it'll be 1 second. And instead of having 2 Zerglings, you're going to get 3. And so you could quickly mass a really large army real quickly. Let me show you what that looks like. So here's a normal Terran attack coming against the base, and you got some Zerglings trying to defend it. You'd be in trouble at this point. You don't have any more units to guard your base. But you have Swarmlings. So each of these larvae is going to produce 3 Zerglings, and they're going to make a really large force quick. And you'll fend off this attack and actually have a large force to push against the enemy now. And so this really started scratching that itch for us. This is what you're doing in the game. You're evolving your units to an epic choice here. You're getting to choose an entirely new Zerg unit. Now, I left out one piece of information. This is the reward. This is the reward at the 3rd unlock. But once you get to the 3rd unlock, there's actually an evolutionary mission. And you'll launch a mission designed specifically for both these units. So you'll have a mission with the Raptors and Swarmlings. And once you complete that mission, you will then make that choice. Now, the last thing I'm talking about on the Heart of the Swarm today is destruction of worlds. Up at this point, I've been talking about how you could evolve the Zerg, each unit individually. But this is a way to evolve the Swarm, destruction of worlds. As you play this game, you'll get contacted by old broodmothers, and they'll want to come back to the Swarm. And so you'll start getting stronger and stronger. And at some point, Isha will say, you know what, I've identified 4 worlds to destroy. And the reason why the Zerg destroy worlds is because every world has a benefit to the Zerg. One world might increase the mineral harvesting of your drones, or another world might increase the gas harvesting of your drones, or increase the larva regeneration rate of the hatcheries, or the supply of your overlords.